I'm Vinay Bayer in conversation with Amit Chatterjee. Welcome to The Missing Link with Amit. Hi Amit.
Hi Vinay.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you very much.
Today, I thought it's relevant in today's day and age to talk about a topic which is most prominent because it's directly affecting and impacting the performance, the relationships in our organization, and the way the accountability comes in. And also with the leaders, the peers, the management, everything is interknitted with this. So here we are to talk about building trust in the organization.
Very, very significant.
So I'd like to hear from you how to build trust.
Well, of course, you are aware that's quite a wide topic, but I will try to maybe collect my thoughts around what could be relevant for practicing managers and executives. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is about building trust is that you need to be convinced about why you want to have a relationship with somebody else, whether it is your peers, whether it is your team members, or it is your management. So you have to understand that you are playing a role in an organization, and this role is not only significant for you, but it is also important for the organization, because when you perform very well, then it creates the results that you are there for, both for yourself and the organization. And this you can do when you have a very good relationship with the different stakeholders, as I mentioned, to limit to just three groups: your team members, your peers, and your management. Now, how to build trust? So therefore, it starts with you. It starts with, do you have the conviction about your role? So if you do not, then it will be difficult for you to build trust, because you are not trusting yourself. So you have to work on your conviction. Okay. The second thing, which is probably relevant for anybody, whether you are a boss or a team member or not, is this that are you willing to first test the waters? So you test the waters. So how do you do that? You don't go for very big commitments from either your side or from the other side. You go for small commitments. Okay. For example, you ask the person that you are in the business of building trust, would you like to have a coffee together? So the risk is that, okay, you go away from maybe for 30 minutes, okay, and it may not work or it may work. So you take a small risk, okay, whether it is on your time and other resources, your priorities, but and you don't also spend too much money, buying a coffee for each other. So you take a small step, test the waters, and after that, the next step that you build the trust with is that you find something which is about a common ground with both of you. And in corporate or in organization or business life, there are obviously goals that are common. So you first talk about, you sit down again for a coffee, or maybe this time it's a dinner or a couple of beers. Okay, so you extend the risk because the first one played off, and then you go to the next level of risk taking, and you touch upon more about what is common. Find this common ground between both of you, and when you see that synchronicity between both of you, that yes, there is common ground, then it is time for the bigger risk. And the bigger risk that you do is the next level of trust you go to, is where you actually identify something that you both do together with more at risk. By more at risk, I mean that you also put more resources into it, okay, including time, including actual, real life commitments. And when you get into this kind of activity that you both do together, you are also seeing that you are in reflection, or during the interaction, or during the time that you spend together, you are seeing that, do you see that commitment coming from the other side also? Okay, right. But we are already on a positive plane, because the smaller risk level with the coffee as an analogy or as a metaphor, and then maybe with the dinner played off. And then you come to this third level where you actually take ownership of something together. It could be a project, it could be an idea that both of you work on, and then you are going to, create the proposal for the other stakeholders. So that's how you build trust. You don't build trust, just in one go. That I like Vinay or I don't like Vinay. No, but the beginning, I reiterate, is about your conviction. Are you at a very high level of conviction that you have to have or you want to have these relationships? That's the quintessential thing.
When somebody is trying to build trust, the factor which will come initially is the vulnerability within them. Just to take that leap, go the extra mile, and take that initiative. And most of the great things happen because of the initiative taken, stretching that extra mile and coming out of that vulnerability. How to come out of that vulnerability and take that leap towards trust?
Very interesting question. I mean, see, we probably, grow up with these habits that we are not supposed to be vulnerable. And that is what makes us more vulnerable, because in real life, everybody is vulnerable for something. We are human beings. We are not machines. We are not perfect. So one of the powerful aspects of a good leader, a good executive, is that he can share his vulnerability. He can say, look, Vinay, this is where, I'm not too sure. Okay, can you help me? The power of asking somebody, can you help me? I mean, you practice it and you see, wow, this is so powerful. This is multiple folds powerful that I know it. Okay, come along with me and we will do it together. No. So use vulnerability as a strength. Use it. You be, and this again comes from your conviction about yourself. Are you convinced about why you are getting into this relationship? Once you are convinced, share your vulnerability and seek help. Seeking help does not make you smaller. Seeking help does not make you inferior to the other person. Seeking help just makes you that you are intelligent enough to understand the realities and you need help. Okay? So seeking help is a very, I would say, usual side of a great leader.
That's really amazing. I mean, the way the vulnerability is looked at from your viewpoint, it gives extra tool for somebody to actually overcome it and then go about addressing it in their benefit. That's really
I can just, bring out a small anecdote from my little life. There was this time when I was asked to go on the board of a Sikh subsidiary of the major company that I was working for. And finally, the managing director of that company had to be replaced, and the board asked me to take over. So now when I took over, this was a complete engineering company, and I'm not an engineer, as you know. The first thing I did when I took a walk and met the different functional heads in different departments, I said, look, I don't know anything about your business. And I think that was disarming to them. See, for them, this was this guy coming from another city, they did not know me, and, they don't know anything about me, actually. So they were naturally waiting to know. There was no trust. There was no question of trust deficit. There was nothing that had begun even. But when I said this, look, I really don't know anything about your business. So you better run it or help me
understand it.
And that's how it began. And I think the results were quite good. That I could walk up. Of course, it was easy for me to say I don't know because I really did not know. Okay. Now, you mentioned vulnerability, and I think vulnerability is about a reality of an individual. I don't know, I respect my father, who I lost more than 30 years back, even today the same way. And when I think about him, yes, when I was very young, he was like a hero to me. But as I grew older, I realized that, yes, he also had a lot of vulnerabilities, few weaknesses, and I too have the same. Not the same weaknesses, but weaknesses. But that's normal, that's okay. it is contextual. A leader is contextual to what he or she brings in. And in today's world, or even earlier, today it's probably more relevant. I don't think any executive is functional without working with others, without bringing in people, whether it's your team members, your peers, or your management. You need people to join in, chip in over there, not only with ideas but even with efforts, even with helping each other. And where do you help each other? You help each other for the vulnerabilities that other people have. Somebody is good in something, somebody else is not good in something. That's what makes a team. That's what builds it into an organization and finally a good company and a good culture too.
Does empathy, your open communication, is a consequence of trust, or is it leading to trust?
I would say that empathy again is something that is something that you are wired for, but you can also teach yourself, or you can get coached to practice empathy. But empathy is quintessential to leadership practice for sure, because without empathy, I can't really feel what you feel. Okay. Sympathy, on the other hand, is more natural to human behavior. And we are taught to be sympathetic as we grow up, particularly in our society. But sympathy does not help too much in leadership. So empathy is very important.
It's leading to trust, or it's a consequence?
I would say that empathy will lead to trust. You're right. Yes. Because first of all, why should I be in the business of empathizing with you? Because I want to understand you. I want to understand how you feel about different situations. And that's the beginning of building trust. When you feel that, yes, Amit is seriously interested in what I feel, then you start trusting Amit. Okay, you may still have some barriers because I'm new to you and we are new to each other. But empathy is a great instrument, and thank you for bringing in that, to practice. And that's why it is quintessential to leadership practice, as I said, because it does initiate the build-up of the trust. I use a simple example of saying, why not have a coffee together? Now, why should you have a coffee with me, leaving behind whatever your priorities are? Probably because you felt that I'm looking into your eye and I'm trying sincerely to understand you, also, or to feel what you feel. And that is why you will go for a coffee with me. Okay, it's not mechanical, it's not transactional. It's about feeling. What do you feel about how I put the proposal to you? What do I feel, how you look at me when I took the proposal, when I posed the proposal. So empathy is absolutely instrumental, but it comes from either within, or you can teach yourself, you can seek help from a coach to understand how to practice empathy.
The open communication, active listening, reliability comes as a consequence.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, you know it. See, when I have been able to, and I take the example of the most important thing you brought in earlier, which is vulnerability. When I've been able to share my vulnerability, right, I can be open in communication. I don't have to hide anything. And you know me as I know myself, or I should know myself. And when I hide my vulnerability, I actually hide to myself also. I ignore it. I obfuscate that completely. I say, no, this is not me. And I pose in a different way. And you see me manifesting myself every day. And you see, no, there is something, like you say, the missing link. Okay, something is there. But when I bridge that missing link with you, then you can trust me. Then you go along with me, for example. So open communication is a fantastic result of building trust, starting with empathy, starting with conviction.
For a person who's on a closed loop, or being introvert, or a person who has presumptuous intentions, or who's pretending into something else, and still he's laying foundations for trust, how do you differentiate whether it is the prior or the latter? Like, is it the trust which is trying to showcase, or is pretending to showcase something which he is not? How do you differentiate that? How well you can get into the understanding, so that when you are intending to be vulnerable, when you are trying to be open with a kind of a person or a premises or a management which is not, or which is otherwise you feel is not, then how do you go about dealing those scenarios?
Well, that's why the way I learned for myself, and I practiced it also with others, as I said, that you take small risks. Okay, so I go back to the analogy of inviting for a coffee. So it's a small risk, and now we still have, maybe you spend 30 minutes together at least for a coffee. So there are things that we talk about, and you are observing. I'm observing for sure how you are reacting, how you are responding, and that it may not immediately be the litmus test that yes, you are completely not pretending. Even if you're pretending, my power of empathy should make me understand why you are pretending. Because your pretension also is a reality I have to deal with.
True.
Right? So my empathy is one tool, okay, with which I can understand why you are pretending. I should not sit on judgment on you, why are you pretending? We all pretend when we are not sure. Okay, we don't say we are pretending, we say that this is how we want to approach it. And that is basically, where we are hiding certain things, or we are not bringing out all the cards on the table in another way of speaking. So some may call it pretension, some may call it that, okay, I'm keeping my cards close to myself till I'm sure. So that's why you start with small risks. Then you go to a little medium level risk, okay? And this is how you build trust, as I said.
That's a really good point. There's one more angle to it. As trust, most likely it'll be one angle. Like either you are seeking trust, like everybody should be trusting me. Like there was a group of or a team of 10 people.
So it's if I put this in the words that come to me, is that one is about that I demand trust from others or expect trust from others, but I'm kind of unmindful of whether they also want to be trusted, for example. So does that qualify your question?
Somewhere. I mean, it's like, one is oblivious about, others also seek this.
Yeah. But so probably I took one step beyond that one, that when I'm oblivious about the need of others to also feel trusted, right? Then the other person, obviously, the expectation that others will trust me sometimes is related to, I would say, the narcissistic needs of the leader or the individual. And yes, a pinch of narcissism is very valuable to be functional. But if you have too much of that, then you become oblivious. Then you are not so much thinking about others. You are, your life and your world is all about you yourself. How you look at the mirror and see what you want to see, what you like to see, for example. So you are therefore completely oblivious of the feelings. So you can't even practice empathy there.
True.
In fact, I've seen people with more narcissistic tendencies practicing sympathy very easily.
Yeah.
But not empathy.
Not empathy. Yeah.
And that's why
sympathy comes with a pinch of pity.
Yeah, exactly. So it's with a pinch of condescension.
The superior, inferior kind
superior,
of.
inferior, exactly. And they feel, okay, I can be generous, and I want to, because everything comes back, and a narcissist would bring everything and rub on themselves.
True.
So maybe we discuss narcissism more in another podcast, but it just came to my mind because mostly, I don't want to use the word arrogance, because I think arrogance is a little bit different from the narcissistic needs. Because narcissistic needs, as defined also, is almost, unfortunately, permanent, because it is a pathological disorder.
So,
arrogance is more a temporary state of a person.
On a note, a person being more self-centered, does it mean to say that it lacks a bit of a trust from the team? It more so leans towards that?
No, that could be the consequence. That could be the consequence of a person who is more self-centered. And we find a lot of, I would still use the word narcissistic we find a lot of narcissistic leaders in real life. Because as I said, you need a pinch of narcissism to be functional. I can't imagine a good leader without a pinch of narcissism.
I mean, I don't know how many of them will understand the context of that.
That's what we need another podcast for it. That's
it's
really
amazing that
one
you
of my
brought
favorite
in
topics, and it's a big
Yeah,
one.
we'll dwell on that.
Yes, we will do that one.
Coming to trust as a factor, now that the trust is breached, how one can recover from that and re-establish it?
When the trust is breached, you have to start afresh. Okay. Now the point is, more important in my mind that comes is this, that not about who will do it and how will they go about it, which is your question, which we can address. But I think most important is, I need to be again sure that I have to rebuild the trust. So it's again leadership. I have to lead my life. I have to lead myself, and I have to come to that conviction again that I have to rebuild the trust. Okay, just by saying sorry or apologizing, it does not build the same trust that you had. Okay, but that's a beginning for sure. But you make that beginning based on, do you still want to do it? And that depends on your motivations. Do you feel sure enough that yes, your motivations will be gratified? Okay. Having gone through or once you go through the process of building the trust. So that's very critical over here. So that's something again, related to the individual. I, speaking for myself, I should feel that, okay, my motivations will get gratified if I rebuild the trust with Vinay. And that's what motivates me to get into that, challenging kind of a task that I have ahead of me. The other thing that can affect or does affect is this, that if I am very much driven by not only the motivations, that what I can derive out of the process, I can get for myself, whether internal motivation or external, intrinsic or extrinsic, but there's a purpose that I have, there's a goal that I have. And that is, that is the beacon that makes me do whatever I have to do because I want to reach there.
True.
And that's what leaders are, supposed to be made of. They want to reach somewhere. They have a vision. And for that, they have to rebuild the trust with Vinay because otherwise, Amit cannot reach where he wants to reach. So both can do that. Okay, but we can speak about one at a time. Okay, if I'm playing Amit, then I have to work on Amit first. If you're playing Vinay, you have to work on Vinay first, right?
Yeah, so why I asked that was, for one, there is a little bit of a vulnerability if he's taking effort. Otherwise, there's a bit of a guilt for if it all is really intended to. But the other one has taken the consequence. So he is having the pinch of salt that he has taken. So for him to come out of that pain or anguish of what he has taken, and for the other one, it is more of a willingness to change.
See, yeah, I agree, but I would try to kind of keep it rational also for our viewers from this point of view, that if you think the similarity for both Vinay and Amit having made the mistake, is that both of us will use either our motivational incentives that we can gain. Vinay, you stand to gain if you make Amit rebuild the trust, or you see that the goals that you have, they get fulfilled if Amit rebuilds the trust with you, or you rebuild the trust with you. You have not made the mistake, Amit has made it, but you also have to rebuild the trust. You lost the trust in Amit, right? Because he made a mistake. Amit understood that Vinay is not trusting him anymore. But both of us, if we take a lead into rebuilding the trust, we use either the motivations, because you stand to gain. You achieve your targets. You get your incentives, rewards, whatever it is. Or you achieve your goals, which is not just the target and the incentive, but even overarching goals beyond those short-term incentives. So both of us actually are driven by the same things, but these things are different. My motivations are different from your motivations. My goals may be different from your goals. And there could be common goals which we have to work together, which make us rebuild the trust again.
There's one more factor with trust, which happens usually, like, especially people who are in sales will understand this, is the person will just move on from the level at which the trust was laid. And the dynamics of the trust, the foundation which was laid, changes. And
Positively, you mean?
both ways.
Okay.
If it changes, then there will be a dip in the factor of trust from the other entity. Then over a period of time, the factor of trust slowly depleted because of certain...
Because I moved on.
You moved on. I mean, you started growing on other factors because the organization is so dynamic. So you start picking on other skills. And you thought, okay, fine, I have your trust. I know them. I take you for granted.
I get where you're going, yeah.
Yeah. So when that happens, having a consistent behavior towards keeping the trust as constant and making you grow on a constructive note, how to work on those dynamics?
Well, I take it like this, that I've become more distant to
The factors
a
which you
person
work
or my team because I'm getting engaged in other things. I think it works, at least from my experience, in this way, that see, when I trust somebody, and you give the example of being in sales, and I started in sales myself also. So when I would trust somebody finally and build up that situation, that yes, this gentleman can now handle the responsibility. The reason I do it is that I don't have to anymore add my time, add my knowledge or my experience to achieving the goals that he himself can achieve. Why do I do that? The reason is so that I can grow somewhere else or help some other people to grow, because my time is limited. Either I use it for my team, different members, A, B, C, D, or I use it for myself. So, and wherever I use it, it leads to growth for me, because I'm the team lead, right? As a sales manager, if 5 guys all succeed without my having to put my time or my knowledge or experience to that, I can take over bigger responsibilities. So it results in my growth, right? So I don't see a problem with, but on the other hand, if the result is this, that the other person is feeling insecure because I'm not available, then it is related more to not trust, I would say, but to developing that person's confidence levels, competence levels, so that he or she feels not just being able to perform, but also actually proud of being able to perform without Amit's, being there hovering around. For example, I never hovered around people, but on the other hand, there are different people, develop in different ways. Some people are dying to, get this boss off their shoulder and come back and say, boss, I did it.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's have a drink. Other people may be different. They would like to be physically patted on the back. They would like to, they need that constant kind of, patting. It's the psychological personality of the individual, because, we are not made exactly the same way, right? So we have, again, I come to the DISC model, which really is a very helpful tool to understand the psychological personalities. So if I have a part in my psychological where I need this patting on the back constantly, and you are my boss, and you understand it, which you understand because you have the power of empathy, so you will find the time to come and pat Amit once in a while. But to Natalie, you know that Natalie loves to be left alone, and just do it. And she knows that you trust her. And she doesn't want, it's a nuisance for her if you are checking on her regularly and say, hi Natalie, what are you doing? Can I help you, etc. No, come on, let me do it. Okay, I come back to you. I'm working on something big, something great, isn't it? So there are different kinds of people you treat differently. But I don't think that trusting people leads to anything negative for either the person you are trusting or for yourself. It leads to growth. It leads to development.
So reinstallation of trust is required now and then in terms of your approach?
I wouldn't call it, probably I understand where you're coming from on this question. I would not say reinstalling of trust, because unless there is a breach of trust for some event, something happening between two people, you don't have to reinstall it. Of course, there's a semantics we are getting into, but yet I think trust is quite permanent unless it is breached due to some reason. But on the other hand, a relationship is not the same as trust. There are more issues, there's much more to relationship than only trust.
True.
I can trust you, but because I've become distant, we don't have a relationship. I'll give you a couple of examples. I don't know what you are going through. I don't know that you fell sick and you were hospitalized. And at that time you thought, oh, Amit didn't even, give me a call.
True.
So it's not that you have lost trust in Amit or I've lost trust in you, but Amit is too far away. And you feel, not for your work part of it, but you feel, well, we work together, he didn't even just ask me how am I doing. I may lose somebody precious in my life. And that's when I remember those people whom I trust and I feel close to.
You. Yeah.
So it makes somebody not immediately kind of lose trust, but it does make somebody feel, alone, poor, not in material ways, but in psychological ways.
True.
And therefore, you need to keep in touch for sure. You just don't let go 100%. You keep in touch periodically over there.
Now that you mentioned about distance, in today's context, where post-COVID, we have a situation where most of them don't get to meet physically in office premises, and we are virtually connecting and working. And due to this virtual office scenarios, you don't get to know the other person or your team as closely or as thoroughly as you would have otherwise. So how to go about, getting the trust scenario taken care of?
Oh, that's really an obvious and difficult one. But yet, I've seen in my coaching practice people who are going through this. And what I've learned from that is this, that the relationship is based on transactions. What do I mean by that? It is based on information exchanged. It's based on data. It's based on systems, processes. And that's it. People, I think, don't relate to the human being on the other side. Unless they have known them before all this happened, I won't thank COVID for it, but thanks to COVID.
But don't you think the synergy will affect both dynamics, or you feel both can still have the same synergy with trusting the other person, the peer or the manager?
No, see, the relationship becomes, I think, very fragile. So this is like, yes, you transact, you are on this Teams meets or whatever it is, and you start at a defined time and you finish at a defined time. There's nothing that you discuss about two human beings. You stick to just plain, boring, mere work, and that is transactional. So in transactional, I don't even want to use the word relationship, but in a transactional, communication that happens, relationship suffers. Relationship, I think,
what are the measures
withers away.
What we can take in terms of building trust in those scenarios? Because that's very relevant to today's situation.
See, let me deliberately look at it from another lens. Do I need to build trust? I guess people who have to live a lot through this kind of transactional life, are they asking themselves? So it has happened in my experience. I've asked, do you want to have a relationship with your manager or with your team member who is sitting in Pune or in Hyderabad or in, some South American countries? Do you want to have? And it was quite difficult for my client to say yes. It was quite difficult. They didn't say no. Nobody said no. Okay. But almost everybody found it very difficult to commit to a yes, because they don't see themselves traveling all the way to Colombia or Poland or Pune, or unless there is some work.
No, not just in terms of knowing them personally or getting into a relationship mode beyond the scope of transactionability. On the note of even the aspects of work that I trust that this person will deliver because he's somewhere else, and I'll be getting it on time. Even to lay that foundation of trust that this is going to happen, the parameters vary when it comes to virtual
see, why I'm getting into this withering away of the relationship, if there was a relationship, if there is no relationship, there is no withering away of a relationship, then it is transactional. It is basically that I have ensured that you have the information or the tools and the access to systems and processes that you need to perform what you have to do. And I ask for a commitment. You say, no, I need 2 more days. That's my business to accept it. I accept it because probably I don't have an alternative. And you deliver up to 2 days. That's it. So I don't actually relate the word trust over here. Yes, trust comes when you repeatedly deliver on commitments. So I trust you that when you say yes, it means a yes. When you say no, it means a no. And in the Indian context, as we know that, we find it very difficult to say no. So do I trust somebody who says yes? I don't even probably take that luxury that I trust or not. I just ask again. Do you want to take another minute and really confirm that yes, you will deliver? And if I still don't feel sure, I ask 3rd time. Or after he or she has given the commitment, maybe you check upon that midway through, or 3 times between the deadline and when the commitment was given. Because in our society, people find it quite difficult to say no. If the manager asks, boss, can you deliver by next Thursday? And the guy said, yes, it means he will do his best probably.
True.
Okay. But that doesn't mean it will be a Thursday. So I call up probably on Monday or Tuesday and I said, Vinay, are you on track? Is everything okay? No, actually, tomorrow I have to take my mother to the hospital. So Thursday, do we get it? After probably you say, how is your mother? Is she okay, etc. Because you are a human being. So anybody also expects that. But then you are basically asking the question to think whether you will get it or not. So this is what I mean by transactional.
Yes.
Because the first thought does not come, how is his mother? If you had a relationship, your first thought will be, oh my God, what happened to auntie?
True.
Okay. So you react differently because you don't really have a relationship. You are transactional, and that's the poverty of virtual life. But if it's reality, you have to handle it. So you become transactional.
So that distinction does help. I guess that's probably the missing link, because people do confuse themselves when it comes to laying foundation, getting into the mode of the same pattern of what they used to do before COVID, of getting into a relation mode of, he is my colleague, he happens to be my friend. I have seen places where when they say in a phone, like, suppose my relative call and I'm with someone, and who are you with? And he says, I'm with my colleague. And the colleague gets offended. I'm your friend. How can you call me colleague?
Exactly.
I've seen these situations. So they've got into a relation mode beyond their knowledge. And that's been expected also. And being Indians, like you said, we find it difficult to say, no, you're not my friend, you're my colleague.
Yeah.
And he feels offended.
Absolutely.
And in virtual reality, that distinction of you realizing that it is transactional and this is the mode we are using and it is limited to this boundaries.
As you said, that's the missing link.
That's the missing link.
And the fix is to accept realities.
True.
And wade through them just like you wade through anything else, even conflicts. So what do you do? Yes, the only thing, when I speak to my clients or my coach on one-to-one basis, we normally come to this point that, is it possible to meet up? Okay, and most find it difficult. See, everybody has families, other responsibilities, and this habit of working from home, etc., has also made everybody's life quite complex. Because it's easy for your spouse or your children or whoever, your parents, if you live together, still not many live, to have expectations of you because you're physically available.
True.
Yeah, you're in your shorts or, what do you call it, jumper suits or something. So the expectations have become more, and you have been able to deliver them. So your relationship is actually kind of strengthened on the home front. I won't say positively or negatively, but at least you have more interactions with your family members. So therefore, the expectations are higher on either side. Whereas the relationship with your working colleagues, even if you had one before COVID, has simply either withered away or never got established.
True.
Okay, and that's where then trust is just based on transactions, for example. But where you had a relationship, you feel that you lost something. So there could be a trust deficit, but that is not so difficult to maintain if you just simply call, or sometimes meet up if possible, or at least call and talk about other than your transactional work details. If you had a relationship, obviously you would, and you check upon, how is your husband or wife or children or parents. Okay, I heard that so and so happened. I hope everything is fine. So if you are satisfied with the transactional relationship, well, I think you have the right to kind of lead a poor human life, I would say.
Okay, that's pretty interesting, and I guess we covered good ground with building trust. And
thank you for your fantastic questions, Vinay, as usual.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was building trust and how it impacts and what leads to and what is the consequence of trust into scenarios in business. And we heard Amit on this topic. Look forward for more information regarding similar topics and more interesting ones to come. And do sign up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.